Okay, right now what we're going to do is I'm going to start talking about two things, moral objectivism and moral non-objectivism, otherwise known as subjectivism. I want to start with talking about moral subjectivism, even though I listed it second. This is very important with ethics, and I'll explain it now. Moral subjectivism says that the morality of an action is determined by the individual. That is, when you are speaking about an action in moral terms, such as rape is wrong, murder is wrong, it is wrong to abort a baby, it is morally neutral to abort a baby or fetus, whatever we want to call it at this point. Same-sex marriage is a perfectly moral act, or same-sex marriage is immoral because it is the misuse of the state to enforce a view of ethics upon a group of people who do not necessarily agree with it. See, to take those statements from a subjectivist point of view is to merely reduce them to statements about oneself. For example, let's take abortion. Some would say, well, abortion may be wrong for you, but for me, abortion is perfectly fine. Or they may say, well, you may believe abortion is good, but I believe it's wrong. And so what you're saying is, there's nothing really wrong with abortion. What you're saying is to me. Whenever you say that word to me, you're not speaking about the actual act, say, of abortion. You were talking about your response to it, or how you feel about it, or what you think about it. Moral objectivism is going to say quite the opposite. Moral objectivism is going to say rape is wrong, regardless of how I feel about it. Now, here's a great example coming from pornography. For example, some might say, well, you may believe, or you may not like pornography, but why should you push your views on other people who do like pornography? And the moral objectivist is saying, no. It is wrong whether one likes it or not. For example, the guy could say, well, quite frankly, I like pornography, but it's still wrong. Or as one might say, I like cheating on my wife, but it's still wrong. You see, the idea is that with subjectivism, you are merely speaking about how you feel, what you like, what you think. With moral objectivism, you are not talking about yourself. You are actually talking about the act. Let's take beauty, for example. Some would say that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And so you go, well, she may be pretty to you, but she's not pretty to me. And the guy says, no, she's really ugly, whether you believe it or not. Now, at some point you go, well, okay, well, there certainly is preferences. But I think we would all agree that something is wrong with somebody who falls in love with a mutilated individual. You go, that's just gross. And could you expect that somebody go, well, that may be gross to you, but, I like mutilated people. I think they're really cute. You'd say, no, there's something really wrong with this person to think that's cute, because there is a line. So subjectivism, to be brief about it as I can, is merely your statement about yourself in relation to the action. And this is what a lot of people have reduced ethics to. They've said that, you're just speaking about yourself. Well, you may not like rape. You may not like pornography. You may not like homosexuality. You may think abortion is wrong. Well, the objectivist is going to say, no, that's not really what I'm saying. I'm not making a claim about what I like or how I feel. I am merely making a claim about the act, that there's something about the actual act that is wrong, that there's something about abortion, say, or homosexuality, or murder, or rape, or pornography, if, as we were saying. Something is objectively wrong with the act. The wrongness doesn't come from me, it comes from the act. And so there are going to be two types of theories. There are going to be objectivist theories that say there's something wrong with the act, and there's going to be subjectivist type theories that say there's that the wrongness comes from you. We're going to be discussing those. For example, I'll give you a few. Relativism is one that has to do with subjectivism. It says either cultures or individuals determine for themselves what is good or bad about the act. Ethical egoism has to do with you and how it benefits you, so it's to you whether it's good or not. Emotivism, talking about your emotions, how you feel about certain acts. Those are subjectivist views of morality. Objectivist views of morality, on the other hand, would be something more like a categorical imperative by Immanuel Kant, duty ethics, which would be deontological ethics, or natural law theory. That is, that the universe and reality is designed in such a way that we can learn from it and how it's supposed to be, and thus we need to conform to reality, and it's the moral goodness is apart from us. We discover these things and then we apply them, or we acquiesce to reality. Finally, there's divine command theory, which is very similar to natural law theory, because natural law theory often invokes God too. But divine command theory says that God has deemed such things wrong or right, and we recognize this and we follow that. It's not how we feel. It all has to do with God and His intent. Now, those are the two different types of views. Now, there are other theories out there. There's utilitarianism, which it could border on objectivism or subjectivism. We'll definitely discuss that, and that's going to be very important when we use that all the time. So between the two, I want you to know the difference. Are you speaking about yourself, or are you speaking about something external to yourself? Now remember, you would never say to your science teacher, "Well, Miss Smith, I see that you say 2 + 2 is 4, but to me, it's 5. You would never take a subjectivist approach to math. Yet we do to morality. And we have to ask ourselves, why do we do that? Now, of course, remember, in the lectures prior to this, a lot of people go, well, because you can't see, touch, taste, smell, or hear ethics, therefore they must be subjective, feelings, emotions, or whatnot. Well, keep in mind that statement itself is not verifiable through the senses. Therefore, does that mean, or I should say, should we then determine that that statement is nothing more than a mere opinion? I don't think so. So I'm going to make the claim that it doesn't have to be tested through the 5 senses to know it objectively. Just because I cannot see 2 + 2, not the squiggle squaggles on a board, the numerals, but the numbers, just because I can't see a 2 + 2 = 4, it doesn't follow that it doesn't exist, and the same is true for morals. I'm a moral objectivist, if you haven't figured out by now. And keep in mind, every professor is biased, so if somebody says I'm wrong to be biased, well, that's their bias. Keep that in mind. So what you're going to do with this video is I want you to be able to articulate, I want you to actually articulate the difference between objectivist and non-objectivist theories of morality. And give me a paragraph describing objectivist theories, and then I want you to give me a paragraph describing and contrasting the subjectivist theory of truth. All right, until then, that is, until the next time I put out a video, which will probably be tomorrow, get to work, and I'll see you then.